We get calls here in our office of sales reps asking us to give them some examples of industries to call, or give them other ideas or little tricks that we do to be successful or to sell our product. And it always comes back to that same thing, which I would imagine I've said it in every single video, which is that you have to show value. You need to be able to show a business owner that if he does not have our program, he's actually losing money. But some of the tricks to that are, it's important to know about upsells. And the best example of an upsell is, let's say that you're getting your car repaired. Well, you can explain to a auto mechanic that when people come in, and again, you're preaching to the choir, they're going to know this, but when a guy comes in to get his car fixed, the last thing he ever wants to do is spend $1 on getting his car fixed. So he's not excited to even pay $300. But as a mechanic, if you could go to this guy and say, listen, your repairs right now are $300, but in actuality you have about another $400 worth of stuff that is about to break. And in fact, if you don't fix it now, it could cost you thousands down the road. By the way, we have an in-house financing program for 25% down. We'll actually finance that over the next 12 months for you. How does that sound? In the long run, that's probably saving you money. If you can share that with a mechanic, and you can get him to agree to do that with every one of his customers, I promise you're going to make that guy more money. So, that's just one example of upsells. You need to find them in every single industry, and you need to make sure that you get the customer or your prospect to engage in that. When you give him an example of an upsell, you've got to see if he actually believes it or not. We've had mechanics, or I'll give that same example, and they're like, yeah, well, we'd never do that. Well, my mechanics won't do that. They're not going to do that. Well, then maybe it's not a good product for you, Mr. Business Owner. Because if you buy our product and you install it and you sit it back at some table in the back of your business, and you are not aggressively asking people about it or trying to sell it or market it, I promise you it's nothing better than a paperweight. But if you will engage and you will use it and you will make sure that the brochures are out, or you will create other marketing pieces. We give a couple marketing pieces too. If you will use those things, I promise you can make more money in the last 12 months, in the next 12 months, than you did in the last 12 months. So, again, it's just important. Upsells, it's what it's all about. It's important to find those certain ideas that work. The one example I just gave you, it's probably been told 1,000 times since to every single mechanic, and the ones that got it ended up buying. So if you can find another example, maybe you used to lay carpet, or maybe you used to paint houses, or whatever you did, think of things that might interest that person. We've sold some chiropractors lately, and that's not typically an industry I would have thought could use our product, but when I started to think about it, it works perfect, because really what a chiropractor does is somebody comes in, has a hurt back, and a chiropractor says, well, listen, you need 12 more visits. It's going to cost X amount. It's going to cost you, $2,000, and we'll just charge you $30 or whatever each time you're here. Now, what happens is, as soon as the person's pain goes away, they never are coming back to that chiropractor. With our program, what it allows them to do is get that person locked in. So they have already paid. So if they don't show up, well, then that's their bad. They've already paid for the product. It does two things. Number one, it motivates the person to follow through on the things they probably need for their back anyway. And most important, it gets our merchants paid up front. So, a chiropractor, who would have thought? And since then, we have sold several chiropractors, and it's been very, very successful. There's another industry for you to call. So make sure you are thinking outside the box here. We don't have it all figured out. You're going to think of another industry that has been untapped. So, I would tell you to make sure that every single auto repair place in your area gets called upon, but make sure that that's not the only pond you're fishing in. There's a lot of other great examples. Lawyers are great. Coming up with money for a retainer. Think about DUI attorneys, criminal defense attorneys. That's another great market for you. So, be creative. Think outside the box.